going to be very casual this morning, so I first want to say thank you all so much for being here on a rainy Friday morning. My name is Marisa Aull, and I work with a group called CEDIC. It's really long. It's Community and Economic Development Initiative of Kentucky, which is why we call ourselves CEDIC, because it's much easier. And we are working with the PROMiSE Zone Initiative, which you all are a part of, the 8 southeastern counties that are in the PROMiSE Zone. As you all probably know, Kentucky is the only rural designation for the PROMiSE Zone. There are urban. And one of the reasons we really wanted to get to jumpstart in the process is that because we are the only rural designation, we qualify for grants and incentives that are only geared towards rural communities. One of the probably the most asked questions when people say, oh, we're, the PROMiSE Zone, how much money are we going to get? Well, unfortunately, they did things a little different. Differently, but I also think this is kind of fortunate in the same sense. So there's no money that's just going to be given to each community. Instead, we're going to look at the 8 counties as a region and discover kind of what, as a region, we need, but we're also going to look individually at the counties and ask the counties, what do you think you need as a county? And then we're going to go and apply for grants and extra funding. So because we're a PROMiSE Zone county and region, we actually are bumped up to the top for any grants and incentives. We also get technical assistance from the federal government as well. So I like this in the sense that instead of being given a pot of money and they say, well, you have to do this, this, and this, instead we're asking this time, what do you think you need? Instead of someone telling you what you need, what do you think you need in your community? And I'm a grassroots person, so this is up my alley. So in the end, there will be funding and programming that will come to the community, but you all have more of a say, and then you also can have more control over that, which I really like as well. So today we're really just having a discussion. I had the opportunity to look at the strategic plan for the city of Manchester, and it's phenomenal. So I know you all have already done a lot of the town hall forums, which is why we didn't have planned 3 or 4 more. You all have already gone through this process, but we wanted to make sure that we captured everything that we need to before we write a rough draft of a plan. And so I just have a few questions for you. Again, we're very casual, just conversation. I'm going to take some notes. I won't put names by anything, just taking some notes. And please chime in, with feedback. And my first question is, if you could describe your county in one word, what would it be?
Beautiful.
So I've got beautiful. Anyone else?
Actually, we have hidden treasures, so to speak.
I like that. Hidden treasures.
Historic.
Historic.
In good and bad ways.
History is that way, isn't it? Good and bad.
I think it's evolving.
Evolving. That's a good one.
I think we're hungry for something to happen.
Yeah.
We're also a very supportive community.
Yeah.
People often forget, a lot of times you think bigger is better, and you realize, if you go somewhere else, you don't have that same community support that you have in a smaller community, so supportive.
I think we're hardworking and determined.
Mhm.
We're friendly.
Friendly. Any others?
Innovative.
Innovative.
We've invented a lot of stuff.
That's a good list. Anybody have anything else they want to add to that list? That's a good list. So I just want to make sure I captured everybody. If we could describe Clay County in one word: beautiful, hidden treasure, historic, evolving, hungry, supportive, hardworking, determined, friendly, innovative, open-minded.
And we've got one more.
All right.
And it's not positive.
Okay.
We're drug riddled.
But we are survivors.
We are survivors.
All right. doesn't always have to be positive. So I'm glad you added that one. That's important to our discussion as well. So if you can think about the strengths of Clay County, we talked about kind of how to describe it, and you gave me some of the strengths, but what are some of the strengths of the county? What are assets that you have in this community already?
The scenic beauty, I mean, Clay County is full of the most amazing scenery and natural resources.
Good people.
Other things you can think of that would be considered a strength for your community?
The schools.
The schools. I would say yesterday, like I said, I went to the high school, and I never had I go to a high school, just keep an open mind, because it's a high school, so you never know what's going to happen. I was extremely impressed, just with staff, from the moment I walked in. Staff, the students, just how everyone presented themselves in the hall. I wasn't there during the hallway, and that could be a scary time in a high school during time. It was wonderful.
I worked in the Clay County schools for over 25 years, and we have the most well-behaved students. I've been in many different school systems across the state, and they are the most well-behaved kids.
And that's a wonderful testament to, to their families and the community as well. So I'm going to put schools/students.
They had last Monday, I guess, they had a showcase of schools. Each school had a booth out the library, high school, and they presented where they've been and where they hope to go and where they stood. And it was really, really interesting. I don't know, I see Margie and me win, I don't know. I saw Joe, anybody else in the crowd, but it was really interesting. And what they do, they set up about 4 in a group, you move from one school to the next school to the next school, and they've done their presentation. It was interesting.
And they were telling me about their coffee house performances and just some of the arts and skills. So I was very impressed when I got a chance to go. Other assets and resources in our
There's lots
community.
of talent in this, artistic, cultural, arts, there's lots of talent there.
I think we have a wonderful public library as well as a hospital, that I think are strengths. And educational opportunities. We have an EKU campus.
And it's beautiful.
that,
It really is.
I know that goes into schools, but there's a lot of educational opportunities that's offered there.
And I think our resilience
Yes.
is one of our main strengths, is that we keep trying, no matter what happens to the economy or what else. We're survivors. We're strong, we've had to be.
Right.
And passionate.
Yeah, I think one thing about this community, and see if you all agree with me, just in general, this community has, I would say it's mission oriented. They go out and seek, when they see someone in need, they pull together and they work towards getting something accomplished for that person or group.
So you all are able to do a lot with very little.
But we still have a lot of needs
Needs.
and some resources to help in that.
Any other assets or resources or strengths in your community?
It probably mirrors some of the other, but I think determination. We've got a core group established in the county now that's, we're not going to give up till we change this county for the better. That a lot of us has been gone and came back, but this is our home. A lot of us, the ancestry goes back over 100 years. So we're not going to see it go under.
We have a lot of community support groups, like civic groups, our garden club, our women's club, the Clay Athletic, those are very important strengths.
I have to say our churches.
Yes.
We have a lot of churches, and I'm going to say the majority of people go to church.
Over 100. Somewhere over 100. It's over 100 though.
100 people or 100 churches?
100
Yesterday they were talking about a church that's in a movie theater, or the
Yeah.
old movie. Okay, so they were talking about the movie theater church, and I kept asking, I was like, what's the movie theater church? And they said, oh, it's the church that's in the old movie theater. I said, oh, okay, now I get it.
Ours was a school. The
Was it
church that we're
really?
in, But I mean, that's really used to be a school.
The faith-based community, the churches. Anything else you all can think of?
What would you identify Chad's Hope as being as a group? I mean, that's a wonderful resource in the county, but what would that be?
Drug program.
Drug,
It
drug
is to
rehab?
me a supportive program as well as a ministry.
Yes.
I mean, and it's
It's
one of the
phenomenal.
most successful
Yes.
drug
Program.
rehabilitation programs
Yes.
I have ever seen, not just in the community,
Anywhere.
across the
It's a
country.
It's a
residential.
hidden
I
gem. It's a
actually
hidden gem.
heard about that when I was at the Knox County High School group. They were, because some of them, I guess, their families volunteered or donated, and they said they wish they had something like that in their community. So
Yes.
is that actually housed here?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Oh, wonderful, okay.
I mean, it has individuals from all across the country.
Yes.
I mean, on a regular basis, you have people from Texas, you have people from Mississippi, Georgia, and it really turns their lives
One of the
around.
fellows that works there came from Texas.
It's part of the Teen Challenge organization. That's what it-
We could use about 2 or 3 more.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's on that end of the county, and you have a tendency to forget those things that are on the outer limits, and they're so important.
But Jackson County has a female,
Yeah.
it's
Yes, they do.
non-residential, but they do have a female place that they can go and work with.
And I think they were telling me also, I mean, they do job skills and job training, so it's not just get treatment and bye-bye. It was more of,
It's not residential.
I thought it was
Chad's Hope.
No, Beth
Best Blessing. Is it residential?
I
I think it is.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's over there to Jackson.
It's the Wamble Institute, ain't it? Is that where it is? Or right? It's not the,
It's on their property.
Is it on their property?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
okay.
it's a good list. Are there any other things you can think of that are assets and resources for the community?
Well, we are getting ready to have a tourism center.
That's an asset and a resource.
We have pretty good parks in the south.
Yes, you do.
I think someone mentioned also the hospital earlier.
For a community our size to have that type
Yes.
of hospital, and the quality of the physicians there, it's amazing.
Hospitals are always a great source for economic development because companies, industries want to know, do you have healthcare facilities if our people need them? So that is wonderful. All right, if you think of anything else, just chime in. But we're going to go ahead and move to the challenges for your county. If you could think to what are some of the challenges that your county is facing. And I want you to also think about the challenges in the sense of, have we been facing them for a while, or are they new challenges as well?
Drug problem is one of the biggest.
Would you all say prescription drugs, illegal drugs, or?
Prescription.
Prescriptions.
Primarily.
And it's long-term, yes.
And they've been a little heroin floating around here lately, so it's probably get worse.
Of course, meth is the main manufactured drug. It's-
And of course, poverty.
Yeah, job opportunities.
Job opportunities, the lack of job opportunities.
I think the lack of affordable housing is an issue for people that's maybe wanting to move into the county.
Mhm.
They're not there. Yeah, yeah.
Housing overall is a problem.
Is that, okay.
And to have any kind of large industry, you're gonna have to have an additional water source. You know, we have a good-sized lake that does, you know, all the city water that's that's available and so forth, and the prison's here, and that's a big deal. But to have any major, we're gonna have an additional water source to maintain it, because we're just gonna have, without buying it, you know, from another.
Well, it's inadequate right now. I mean, that reservoir, 35 acres, and we're constantly pumping out of the creek, which is a very unsanitary creek, Goose Creek. But we've got a proposal just started to do a 350 acre reservoir in a place called Double Creek in the Redbird community of the county.
Okay.
But that's a big need, like Pam said. Water, you know, that's the source of life, and businesses have to have a lot of water to operate. So all the infrastructure, you know, electricity needs to be built up to greater voltage, and water. We need to get everybody in the county don't have city water. They almost do. We call it city water. That's not what it is, but you know, water from a reservoir that's been treated properly. We got some outlying areas that don't have it. That's one of our goals to. If you had a goal place, is to get everybody gets, you know, clean treated water in the county, not only for you know, for living, you know, for food and cooking and all that, but also as a for the fire prevention, you know, to have hydrants all through the county also. And a lake would do that. You know, we're looking at going 10 times as big, and that's what we need.
And to attract some facets of industry, you're going to have that
Well,
water.
part of the tourism that we would want to attract would be there, and then the industry, you know, is going to come behind it.
I think this is improving, and it has because of the educational opportunities, but an educated workforce. You know, an industry is going to come in, they're going to look for people that are trained and skilled in order to fill those jobs. And I think that that's something that you guys can agree with me. I think that's improving, and because of the opportunities that they've been given.
And that goes back, I mean, one of the assets we didn't mention was EKU.
Yes.
And that opportunity has presented so much
Yes.
for
There's so
our
many
students.
kids that didn't want to leave
Yes.
home, that wouldn't go to college because it required them to leave home, and now they're staying at home going to school.
Yeah.
Another main challenge that we face is we're number one in some bad health habits. Obesity, smoking, sedentary lifestyle. We have a high rate of diabetes and heart disease. And those are things that we are addressing.
What was that, George, the other day that was in the paper about where the
New York female highest rate of female smokers in the nation.
I started female smokers in the nation.
but that the city of Manchester was a leader, what was it that?
Yeah, we passed an ordinance 2 years ago, no smoking ordinance inside the city.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
very, very
Isn't
that progressive?
Yeah, it's very progressive.
Public buildings inside public buildings.
That's wonderful.
And our ordinance is one of the best in the state. We got recognized in CDC magazine.
I think that's a strength for sure.
That is.
That's
That's
a
go
big
back to
strength.
the
And on top of that, as a strength,
proactive and,
the
yeah.
community has respected that ordinance.
Yes.
Which really, I'll be totally honest, George, when you passed that ordinance, I thought, well, are they gonna follow it? They have.
Yeah.
I mean, it really has been
Well, it's
amazing.
a way of life in the
Yes.
cities and stuff, you know, they do that, makes some so in the restaurants and the cities.
I know electronic cigarettes are, in the city here, it's got the same regulations as cigarettes do. And probably electronic cigarettes may be even worse than cigarettes to the person that's smoking them, not
Not
the secondhand
secondhand,
smoke is
yeah.
not bad, but the person that's smoking. Because anybody can make those, there's a guy in Georgetown makes electronic cigarettes, there's no regulations on them. It could be anything, you know.
Right. That's
The mad scientist.
Yeah.
I think a challenge we face too is being able to reach people and educate them about the things that they're doing that are bad for them. Of course, some of them probably know and still do it anyway, like me. I mean, I'm not a smoker, but I do have a few issues. But
Don't we all?
I'm not gonna write that down.
But, I mean, I don't know how you get it across to people. And another thing that we face that's really bad is litter.
Yes.
That's something we've been talking about the last couple of days. We don't know how to reach people and get them to stop littering. I mean, we can pick it up
Yeah.
from now on, but our goal is to get them to stop throwing it down, throwing
You
it
wanna
out,
change the
et
culture
cetera.
of people
Yes.
throwing things away.
I think that's something that we're gonna address too. We're gonna really all get together and get behind it. We want the litter stopped.
Stopping these people with litter, you can put what you want to on in the newspaper or radio or anything else, but those people don't listen to news or read news.
They don't.
That's true.
They don't.
It
You
surprised
just-
me how many
It's hard to
they don't.
reach them. I know all the time these things happen, and we've had it on the radio, and it's been in the paper a couple of times, and then after it's over with, well, I didn't know nothing about that.
That's right, that's right, yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Well, one of our strengths is our media. We've got
Yes.
Gary and Ron here, their media capabilities on the internet and what they have put out there is amazing.
And we have a local TV station.
And we do have a local TV
Wonderful,
station.
yeah.
One thing I think about that I see as a challenge is that we have, if we do bring industry here, which that's what we want, if we bring all the good here, we have literally raised up a generation that thinks that all they're supposed to do is draw a check.
Yeah.
And we gotta get that mindset changed that they're supposed to work if they can, if they're able.
You get it right on the head. They just, you know what, they think it's okay, that's the way it's supposed to be, because it's the way they're raised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember years ago, my mother-in-law, it was the first of the month, and she was yard selling, and she said, man, I wish I could, she was talking about wanting to buy something, and this he was just a young kid, he was sitting there, and he said, Juanita, it's the first of the month, you can go get whatever you want to, and she said, honey, I don't draw a check on the first of the month, you know, but there is a mindset there.
I know for a fact, and I'll be quiet, that the kids are encouraged not to do good in school because they will lose their check.
Yeah, they are.
That's a true story.
But all of that, I think all that goes back to education. If a person really knows they want more than what that little check will give.
To dream bigger and
Yeah.
less.
Yeah.
And I really think that's too much to ask of a teacher to teach that.
Yeah.
The teachers have already got their hands full just trying to teach them the, reading, writing, and arithmetic. I mean, I think it'll take people going to the schools and talking to kids on all those, about all those things we talked about, smoking, health problems, drugs, litter.
Peer
I mean,
pressure.
we can't ask the teachers to teach it. Somebody else has to do it.
Almost like community mentors coming in and sharing that.
I think that is a proper reward and punishment thing that, I mean, you gotta reward good behavior, you gotta punish bad behavior. I mean, that's human nature. You don't learn any other way. I mean, you gotta, just like the litter thing, which I wrote an article 20 years ago or something when we first came back, but I think if you have these habitual, repetitive littering people picking up litter, no matter who they are, I don't care if they're a judge or a sheriff. I mean, they have them out in the community, just like in the cities, they make them wear these signs.
Instead of fine.
I stole from Walmart and I'm doing this. I think that's a good deterrent for that. And as far as, I know this might be getting off base just a little bit, but as far as a solution, you got to reward, like I say, reward good works, punish bad works. And on these things about teaching the kids, like Margie said, the teachers can't do it. You gotta have people that have come from great poverty and have become successful. And I probably am off base on this a little bit, but my philosophy, I mean, I've been in church all my life. I've been teaching young kids all my life. I teach the 6 to 12-year-olds. That's one of my favorite groups, but they're very influential. I don't only tell them and teach them the Bible, but I teach them about life, if you're ever going to have anything, really, you're going to have to work for it. A welfare life is not a successful life. And like, I don't know who said it a while ago, but the kids are told to wear their clothes backwards, wet their pants, stuff like that. We know it for a fact. We've heard it. I've been working with these. I work with the real poor kids. I get the poorest kids I can, and that's who I work with. That's where we got to change it from where it's occurring. And I know somebody else said it a while ago, but that's one of our biggest problems. That's where they turn to drugs. They don't have a life, and they get to live in fantasy land when they're on drugs. I don't know.
That's very true.
But that's a huge thing.
Yes.
Yesterday when I was at the high school, one of the teens mentioned, they said, they should really quit worrying about those adults that are on drugs and other stuff because they're never going to change. They should really be working in this school. And I thought, well, that's just a really profound statement from you all. The fact that they kind of acknowledge the fact that we may not ever be able to reach those adults that are down there. So we should be focusing more on people their age and younger. They said younger, and that just broke my heart too. But they said we really need to be working a lot younger. And they all mentioned, they said we see it in our school on a regular basis.
You have to start with the kids because they are the future.
Yeah. But that's true. They even said it themselves. They said, just give up on those adults and start working with youth, because that's where you're going to make the change.
You got a valid point. I mean, that is where you got to focus, on people you can change and start from the bottom and come up. Those kids are smart.
They really are.
That's who we need to work with.
They really are. When the PROMiSE and listening sessions initially started, someone from our group kind of raised their hand and said, are we going to talk to any youth? And they said, well, that wasn't really our plan. And quickly that changed.
Yes.
And what's been just fascinating is we're doing listening sessions like this with youth in all 8 of those counties. And we're going to look at what the youth said and what the adults said and see where they go together. And then maybe see if the youth have some ideas that we didn't even think of as adults. As adults you kind of get jaded and you just go about your daily life. Some innovative things really I think are going to come out of that. So we're really glad they had a voice. Because those are the people that, if you want to have population come back after they leave for school or for careers or whatever it is, it's important to hear what they want for their community as well. So I think
There's a large group of high school students came to our strategic plan meeting, and they had a lot of input. They spoke up.
I think that's great. I think it's wonderful that you all included them because many times. That's not something that they would ever kind of even register as something they should be involved in. Any other challenges you can think of?
Roads. We need that interstate coming through the middle of this county.
And that's improving so much.
Oh, it
The
is.
road system is. If you get out on these back roads, it's so much difference.
Yeah.
That's improving so much.
Big difference.
I just think the lack of job opportunities is such a huge thing because to get students to see that there's something more out there, we've got to be able to show them there are jobs. There are, you can do this. But right now, when we talk to them about that, where are those jobs? And if it's a matter of going out of the county to work, you're either going to lose them from our population, or they're not going to go because they're not going to drive and then come back.
I don't think they don't pay attention to what the adults are doing here in Lake County. Kids watch everything. I got 3-year-old grandbaby, you can't get by with nothing. I don't care what it is. He's watching everything. So they watch everything that we do.
A few years back, 2 or 3 years ago, we had a community development expert to come and visit with us in Turner County, and his suggestion, he was Dr. Vaughn Grisham, and so his suggestion for us was, well, first of all, he said, if you don't do something, your town is dying. That was such an eye-opening, slap in the face statement to me. And then he said, we talked about the uneducated workforce and the job opportunities and stuff. And you know, one of his solutions to that was to help rejuvenate your area, was to court that retired population that's moved away. You know, and that was very true, but that was sad. And we're seeing that happen. A lot of people that have retired, moved away, they are coming back here, you know, because that was their homeland. Our land tax is cheaper than almost any area. And so that was sad but true.
And sometimes may not be the solution that you were thinking of,
Yeah,
but
right.
it is a
That was
solution.
certainly an idea, yes.
And having a hospital is wonderful
Yes.
for that retired
Yes.
population, and having
Yes.
some of those things as well. People do want to come home eventually, you know, they do, they want to come home eventually. But if housing is an issue as well, then
Yeah.
where are they going to live and those types of things?
Unfortunately, the answer to that is usually London.
Yeah. Well, when I asked yesterday, I said, so where do you shop, where do you get that? Every single one of them said London. And I said, well, do you have some of those things in your community? Yeah, but we still go to London. So it's always that if it's outside of my community, it's better, which is not necessarily the case, but that's how.
But you know, when we did our focus groups with the high school students this fall, it's one of the things they kept saying, we need places to shop. And if it was said once, it was said 50 times, they said, we need a coffee shop. So if anyone wants to open a
coffee
business,
shop.
the high school students say they want a coffee shop.
They did say they wanted a place that had Wi-Fi that they could go to after school, and I said, okay, well, would you really go there? Would you really go if you had that? And they said yes, but then one guy said, you know what, forget the coffee shop, just open a Taco Bell. I said, okay.
We had one of those at one time.
You
You
just
got
said
that?
something.
I got the Taco
Bell
Bell.
was in the process.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm going to have to tell him. That was his number one.
If it goes through, because the plans on it, just approved their plans and all that.
Wonderful. That's really good.
You just said something that triggered something. Another challenge we do have in parts of our county, we do not have good internet. We really do need high-speed internet.
And they're working on that right now.
Yeah, they are, but it's still a challenge right now.
Yeah.
Or cell service.
And cell service.
Which does get better too.
Yeah, it's getting a little better, but it's.
And actually, they're starting in the bad places first,
That's good.
like Roots Branch and
That's good.
Greasy Creek and,
Windstream's installing new fiber optic
yeah,
lines.
that's what, yeah.
Well, maybe that's why my internet has been crawling lately. I've been about ready to sweep.
They're working on
Yeah.
You know, if you want to address the root of the problem that we have here in Clay County, job opportunities would solve 90% of our problems. That's the bottom line. We desperately need jobs, and if we had that, then these other problems would correct themselves.
Well, Jack, now, this is just a statement, I don't particularly believe it or believe it, but there's plenty of jobs in the London Port area, they're begging people to work. People say we can drive over there to work, but there's plenty of people living in London, driving to Manchester. I mean, it's, and I was out campaigning the other day, and asked this lady what she was doing there, and she said, I'm not doing anything. I said, I thought you was working in London, so she said, I was, but she said, I quit, I won't drive to London for it. And if you live in Lexington, you could live in Lexington, it would take you longer to get to work. I mean, there's a lot of people there that takes, lives inside the city of Lexington and works inside Lexington, it takes them longer to get to work to get to London or Cork.
45 minutes to an hour. Yes, it can. My husband drives to Frankfurt every day from Lexington, and it takes him a shorter amount of time sometimes than it takes me to get.
I know everybody says that they ain't nothing to do, but there is things to it, they just want to.
Well, I hate to say it, but I think the attitude of a lot of people is that they want a high-paying job right off the bat,
Yeah,
boom.
that's a
They want to
problem.
walk into a high-paying job, preferably very easy. Like,
Desk job.
I mean, seriously, like, I was at the shopping center the other day, and I saw a sign in the window at the Dollar Tree that said, hiring, help needed, and I thought, well, as many people as need jobs in this county, why are they having to put a sign in the window? Which, I mean, I'm thinking that it's because they think that job doesn't pay enough. Well, guess what? Back in the old days, we started out at minimum wage, and we built up from there. I mean, I worked many jobs that I didn't like, but you had to work on to survive then.
Well, I think that's what's gonna be so
Yes.
important about the funding is because when you talk to people, and I know George hears it, and I know Joe hears it continually, what the city or county's not doing. And they expect the city and the county to fix all the ills, but there's not money available. I mean, neither entity can go out and build $1 million building and just put a business in for someone. So it's just a constant, they think that they're the ones that's not doing anything, and they're not seeing on the back end of it what's actually going on.
Lack of knowledge, they have no
Exactly.
idea.
They have no
That's
idea.
what it is, no matter.
Yeah.
They don't have a clue.
And, we're limited on right around the city limits of property that's even available, or that they're willing to sell for a reasonable price. And that's been an issue for years and years and years, So what property, I mean, it's gonna have to expand out into the county in order to get some of this property to build some of these businesses.
That's what the dollar stores are doing, they're going out.
Out in the community.
Getting a mile away from town, I mean, you'll just notice there.
Mhm.
And save a lot. Grocery stores are getting away from high rent, high property.
All right, so let's fast forward 20 years, and let's think 20 years from now. What would you like Clay County to look like?
Well, I don't want the beauty change, but I think if we had our natural resources that were built on, like the lake and the things,
The
and
mountains.
it expanded out into the county, and so forth as well, that it was a great growth area.
I know what it's gonna be like 4 years from now, if everything works out. Yeah, and that's another thing too, I wanna say, you're talking about people working in jobs and everything. I've heard this a lot while I was campaigning. People have to sell drugs here in Clay County because there's no jobs. Well, that's the biggest, I ain't even gonna say it, I ever heard in my life, because if you look, 95% of the people that's selling all this dope around here wouldn't work if they had a job, or they draw supplemental income. So there's nothing.
And in their defense, I've heard how much money some of these people draw. And you can't get a job that pays what they're making on drawing a check. I'm sorry, I mean, that's what the sad thing is about it is they would, if they got a minimum wage job, they would be going down in pay.
Yeah, that's true.
Motivation
And going down in insurance,
But
going
that
down in
comes from lack of
benefits.
knowledge too, because they can make a certain amount of money and still draw at least a percentage of that check.
Depending on what
What it's
program
for.
you're looking
Mhm.
at.
What it's
But
with.
it does de-incentivize.
Yeah, I know.
The ones she was talking about drawing the big check, I bet you could go and do a net asset on them, they're not worth 1 month's check.
Hmm.
As far as
I
what they
mean,
have.
that's what they have.
It probably can't be legally.
Uh,
Well, they don't have
In 20 years from now, I would love to see bike trails, more walking trails, opportunities for outdoor activities, clean streams. We have beautiful streams and rivers here, entertainment.
economy.
Yes, a tourism.
And don't you think, Vanda, that tourism and nurturing our natural resources in the
Is the
industry?
key.
The population of Clay County, grown up hunting, fishing,
Yes.
hiking, boating, And it's just such a natural fit to build an industry around that, because that would be an area that
That's
people
who we are.
would love to get
Entertainment.
jobs in.
We can
That
do-
is who
we
you
can
are.
do
That is who we are.
That's what
And
we
we're
know.
comfortable in and good at.
So you all could be like a weekend destination
Right.
for people who want to get away from other things.
Ideally, I would see no unimproved roads. Everything is, you know, blacktopped or concreted, and we see a good, well, even taking the,
Clean.
I'm gonna call it the Daniel Boone Parkway. That's what I like. But I'm gonna say that would be 4-lane all the way to the coast, like that 66 was planned. But if I saw 66, you know, completed, that would be our main thoroughfare, and then no gravel roads. We wouldn't even be buying any gravel except for mixing concrete, you know.
Having that infrastructure there.
That's huge. I mean, people are pretty proud of their cars. They don't like to have them on these old bad roads, do they, Jack?
Not right.
Yeah.
I would like to see a technical school. You know, not all kids are gonna go to college and get a college degree, but a lot of our kids are very, as we have all said, they're very driven, they're talented, and they're hands-on. You know, everybody needs a good mechanic, everybody needs a good carpenter. So, yes, right. And I'd love to see that just furthered and those opportunities enhanced.
I went to I toured a plant in Northern Kentucky, and they were looking for aluminum welders,
Yes.
and which is, you know, very specific training. Starting off, they were paying $60 to $70 an hour for aluminum welders, which you just, you know, out of high school, they were teaching them in that high school nearby to fill those jobs because they needed them, and I thought, wow, that's a great paying job. If you enjoy that kind of work and that is, you're skilled with your hands, that having that knowledge, what an amazing game changer for someone who, you know, may not have wanted to go the 4-year route.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
right. It's
we
not.
have that at the high school level, as Pam used to work in that setting, and you know, that's a good start, wonderful opportunity to start those kids.
We need to curtail those technical schools as to what technology is doing.
Yes.
You know, a lot of people, a lot of communities like to attract say, an automobile manufacturer or whatever you have nearby, teach that in your technical schools so they can, you know, integrate those places, you know, whether it be MIG and TIG welding, the high-tech welding, or, I mean, in our vocational school, they do a lot, and they do the basic, general, common things like carpentry, auto mechanics, basic electricity. They used to have a mechanical drawing class, but they don't have it anymore.
That's
But-
one thing, what happens is when those programs, if that person retires or something, or the enrollment gets low, you lose that program and you never get it back.
But we do have nursing down there now, which is great.
Well, we have computers.
And we have the computer lab thing, yeah.
Kind of
Computer
expanding.
repair.
Yes, just in
Technical school.
expanding that.
Expand it and make it more accessible to the high school campus. You'd have a lot more kids be able to participate.
Well, I'd like to make it open
To adults.
Didn't it used to be adults could go down there?
But when they came in,
Yeah.
Whereas that
changed
doesn't
that
happen.
state road. They changed
Yeah.
that state road.
In 20 years, it won't, I hope it doesn't take 20 years. I want to see this lake in Double Creek, but in 20 years, I think maybe we should have like RV parks, we should have, what?
Lodging opportunities. more
Lodging,
opportunities.
restaurants over there at the, that's what I'm, I know there's like 80 some miles of RV trails already in the area. So I'd like to see our Trail Town initiative be,
Carried to completion.
carried to completion.
And that's one thing that is happening, there's lots of people going to lots of trainings.
Yes.
That's interested, and it's our retired people.
It is a
It
retirement.
is, but we're the ones that has more time right now, and it is easier to do.
We need, in 20 years, we need good affordable housing
Yes.
so that our population that could work in these industries
Yes.
will stay here, not
Yeah.
live here.
Yes, yes.
But let me beat the school board's drum a little bit here. Just talk about the nursing, the high school out there, they're gonna be they can actually, in high school, they can take the nursing classes. And now they're working with Eastern and Somerset Community College, and Cumberland's going to pick up, is that what they said, Mark? Yeah. Cumberland, and the gifted students can actually leave high school and go into college as a junior. They say they can have their first years
Amazing.
when they go to.
Well, with that health services class, they can get their certified nurse aid training as a free
Yeah,
thing if they do it at the high school level rather than paying $300 or $400. And it's a prerequisite of going into a nursing program.
Well, the same thing is on the, they get those 2 years college in high school free too. It costs them nothing.
Yeah.
It's dual credit for high school.
I know both of my
Doesn't cost
children
you
will
that
be insured
much.
in college
Wow.
They, Somerset Community and EKU, and if Cumberland's coming in,
Cumberland's
they
coming on board. They
on
said
board with
that.
that'll give them 3 interviews to get extra college credit before they even leave high
Yeah,
school.
I don't totally understand it because I'm a grandmother, but my grandson is getting ready to graduate on, June 4th from high school, but he'll also be a freshman in college at the same, he'll be finishing freshman in college at the same time he graduates from high school.
Right.
So,
Less time to.
so that's good,
Yeah,
that's
it's
real
really
good.
good.
Dual credit is what it
Yeah.
is.
The fact that they're entering in with all of us, wonderful.
That's a long way from the 16 credits you got to have when high school.
Yeah.
Things have changed since then.
4 to 16.
They're teaching in middle school what I learned in high school.
Oh, wow.
Every sophomore and junior.
So we talked about what we want it to look like in 20 years. So I just have a question, and you probably somehow have already answered it. But if that's what you want 20 years from now, what do you think the barriers are that have stopped you from being there right now? So why haven't we gotten there yet?
It's money, financial
The
money.
economy.
And something else too, I think
Lack of knowledge.
and I think, well, me and Joe both probably, we're both first
First
term.
term.
In the past, I think everybody sat around and waited on government money instead of trying to help themselves. And all the stuff that, Marty and Linda and the same play group, everywhere we go, they say, you gotta help yourself. You need to help yourself before somebody else will help you.
That's great.
They say, don't they, George, they say, we can help you, but we can't do it for you.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're finding that out. I think in the past that, and I was guilty of that too. I sat back when I was a working mom and busy with that, and I didn't have a lot of time to share with the community. But now it's like, you can't sit back. I cannot sit back and wait for Pam to do it.
That's right.
I cannot sit back and wait for, Clarence to do it. I gotta get in there and work as much as I possibly
I love Vanda's. I know that the staying play group gets something on a regular basis, every day, every night, and mutual, or many of them, says we need, and I saw one last night about the television things, and, it was a great idea.
Yeah.
And her response, well, do it. So, but now that the staying play has started, now they're saying, here's something you all can do, not something we can
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
So, but the enthusiasm is growing.
It
Yeah,
is.
so there's a change in attitude.
Oh, it's
From-
really changed.
And but the attitude prior was kind of what hindered that.
Oh, that ain't gonna ever happen. That was just the
Yeah.
general attitude,
I think it'll make a big difference if Congress will pass some tax incentives
Mhm.
for companies coming into the PROMiSE zone, especially if they could set up a stipulation about how long you have to remain in the
Yes.
PROMiSE zone,
Yep.
functioning, because Toyota, look what it did for the state of Kentucky. It's impacted every community that I know, and those tax incentives were critical.
Make sure to put that in there. That's something that you all feel curious. And I don't have the official list of what everything, but I do know that I read in there that there are tax incentives for business.
Possible.
Possible. So,
That's-
that's very helpful in that sense. But I do like your stipulation of how long you stay.
Yeah, we've had things here, they stay 2 years.
Right.
When they got their federal money used up, and then they.
We need a long-term investment.
Right.
And there's usually a employee number guarantee in there. At certain levels, you get certain it's incentives. I'm on the industrial board for the county, but, you know, you gotta, they can't, like Susan said, just come in here, use up the incentive and leave.
Yeah.
They gotta do something to get something. And they got to, you know, sustain it for the agreed amount. And like, say, for instance, you get in well, of course, right now, we cannot sustain major industry, like an automobile manufacturer. What we're looking for is 100, 50, 50s are nice, 50s are easy to, you know, support. And, you know, you gotta have those agreements, and they gotta be binding to receive, and you don't get it all at once, you get it on yearly increments as you continue to meet those requirements. And, you know, there's some of those in place right now, that, you know, that's the way you gotta do it. You gotta have those stipulations.
You want them to be a part of the community, not just kind of
Yeah,
set up shop and
absolutely.
you
Right.
want them
But
to
you
be
just
part of
said something that makes me concerned, you know, if they do pass tax incentives, I want to make sure they don't pass a package that says you have to employ 450 people.
Right.
Because then we're
Because
not
then
going to
you're
get
not
any
getting
benefit. It needs to be something realistic for the communities,
be really geared
but
towards
also
rural
to help
communities.
sustain
Well,
that.
even the initiative, you know, that's coming through Daniel Boone, which is great for the coal miners, but they have to be guaranteed, you know, they'll pay a lot of that, but you have to guarantee them a $14, $15 an hour job, and so when that money's gone, you still have to, you know, and when you've got other workers that's not making that, and you come in and pay them, and you have to sustain that, you can't afford to hire them, you know, because you can't sustain that.
I talked to them that was the deal, and we didn't hire nobody.
Yeah, you can. I mean, you've got workers that's not making that kind of money, you know.
I think that there should be included opportunities for entrepreneurship for small businesses like your coffee shops and your sandwich shops, or, you know, a small retail store. We don't have a place in Manchester. Well, we have a couple of places that you can go and buy clothing. One is Walmart, and then you've got your dollar stores, and then we've got Dobson Keaton and a few others. But, you know, we need some middle class clothing, small retail stores, I think. So those type of incentives.
The clothing stores she's talking about, they're the bottom and the top, right?
Yeah.
Nothing
Nothing in
between.
between.
There's
Yeah.
nothing in between.
Yeah.
And
You can go
housewares,
buy-
at Walmart.
Yeah.
Well, I think, that was really interesting to me, what they told you in high school about always going to London. That's something that we've done at Stay in Clay since we began, is try to encourage people to shop locally, because it's not going to get better here until people start shopping locally. I mean, you know, they can't order more stock unless they've got somebody to buy the stock. Then if they've got somebody buying the stock, then they can order more and better. So we need help educating people in all those things that we said were problems. And I don't have no idea how that could be done. Maybe there's somebody who knows that can come and help us. But we need to educate them about having better health habits and respecting their environment more, and the importance of shopping local and building up your own town.
Right.
You know, don't go and build up somebody else's town. They're already doing good. We're the ones who need help. And sometimes you have to pay a little bit more, and sometimes some people can't pay a little bit more.
But what they're saving in gas driving to London, they could spend that extra here.
Exactly.
I want to say something on that note. I know I've done a lot of talking. I'm known for that, I guess. But as far as who structures this, like Margie said, we need some experts to come in. Now, I've seen a lot of abuse in that. These so-called experts, 140 grand a year, 150 grand a year, and that's not exaggerating it at all.
I know that's true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could say a name real quick that everybody would know. They may not know that man, but I'm not going to say it.
Is
Put
it
on
Joe?
film, Ron. Don't
No, it's not elected official. But anyway, I'm just saying that sometimes can kill your programs. You got all your money in all these expert people coming in and training. You know,
It's not
200 grand a year is not a bit, you know, unrealistic. you know, that, all this money, and this happens so much, even in your so-called nonprofit organizations. We know what happened with Red Cross. These people making $6 million a year to run the company that's helping poor people. I'm just saying, you know, give them a reasonable salary.
Right.
But let's not make it all politics and say, Senator so-and-so's got a son, let's let him run this program. We'll pay him $2 million a year, or $3 million. $2 million would be a low salary now to run one of these big programs now. I'm just saying, you got so much corruption, and it goes from the top to the bottom, mostly at the top, and that's where you see it. But if these people that's making these decisions, I may think it should be maybe a volunteer board or something.
There you go.
I'd volunteer.
Volunteer their
We don't want to pay
services.
them.
Yeah.
We don't want to get, like say, we don't want to get $1 million to do this with and spend 800,000 of it on salaries. That has happened here before.
You're exactly
And-
right,
And
Maureen.
what good was that?
Right.
No, it was only good for the people drawing the big salaries.
Right.
Nobody got any real help from it.
But a
We don't-
volunteer board, you have to be invested as a
Yes.
community member.
Right. I mean, let volunteers get involved and absorb some of that.
Right.
The cost of the employees, that's a huge thing, and I just thought of it when Margie said that a minute ago, but, you know, let's make them real, let's pay people, you know, a good, you know, pay them for their work. Get it free if we can, that's what, we like free the best. And, you know, we're volunteers, we're volunteers, I could be doing something else, I could be fishing. But, you know, let's get people that's got something invested in the community. We have children and grandchildren growing up here. And that's been a big thing in the past. We get $1 million grant, and I'm not exaggerating a bit, and it gets written out to board members, or they start a business. But anyway, I mean, if we can just be, you know, realistic and held accountable.
Accountable.
Yeah.
Accountability is huge.
Yeah. And I know a lot of these things are written to that effect now, like Brushy Fork. You talk about accountability,
Oh, yeah.
man, you don't hardly breathe without they know it. But anyway, I'm just saying, let's not let it go to salaries. Let's let it go into the community where it needs to be to help people. That's, you know, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just from getting to travel around, that sentiment has been heard in each of these, and I love that because you can share that back and say, look, you know, this is not just give us money. This is let's really do something with any opportunity that we have. And I love that each of the communities have all said that because, you know, maybe 15, 20 years ago, you didn't necessarily hear that, but every single community we've been to has said, let's be accountable for this, let's spend it, you know, be wise, let's spend this in a smart way, and let's take ownership of it. And so that's great.
And you know, we've been through a lot of planning sessions and strategic planning, and that is all necessary, and that's all well and good. But we here in Clay County are at the point where we're ready to make the rubber meet the road.
Okay. So you
No.
want timelines, you want action that's going to come from this.
Yes, we want results.
All right.
One thing too is, like I said before, a mindset change has to take place. I love the organization Stay in Clay. Just those 3 words. I was the most guilty person on Friday night when I wanted to go. Was you the most guilty? On Friday night when I wanted to go out and eat, went to London, went to Lexington. I never even thought about staying in Clay, but now all of a sudden,
It's like we don't go to London.
now all of a sudden I say, oh, I can't go to London. I've got good restaurants right here in Clay County, and I
So it's
stay.
worked for us.
I
We
stay
feel
in Clay.
guilty.
We feel guilty about it.
Guilt has helped us very much.
Listen, this is a true scenario. My 2 children live in Corbin. I was in Corbin babysitting and was traveling home and needed to stop by the grocery. I was in a grocery in London, and I'm like going, oh goodness, I hope nobody sees me in here shopping in London. And I was getting like a gallon of
feel the
bread.
same
And I was like,
way.
I gotta get out of here. Do I need to be incognito? You know, and I mean, really, that's really my mindset now. I love spending my money in Clay County. I really do.
That's great.
Well, I'm gonna brag and tell you all this. The hospital is having our benefit gala May 1st at EKU, and I've been in charge of getting it set up. And I'm so proud to tell you, we have a local caterer, we have local florists, and our musicians are local. And it just,
We have the resources.
we do
It's
have
a matter of
yes.
putting, it's time to quit and like we said, so much is already being done, but you still got those people that say, we need, and they don't, we need to do, they just saying, you all need to do this. So that is what's got to change in order to move us forward,
Absolutely.
is people being invested and actually putting some things to work.
Do you feel like you all have talked enough, as far as like in the past, talked enough, you all want action at
It's
this
time to
point?
quit
It's time
talking and start,
Okay.
time to start doing it.
Pam said there, that people say, you all need to do this.
Yeah.
And that's what I hear all the time, it's you all, it's not we, it's you all.
Yeah, it needs to be
You
with.
guys need,
We was talking about a project.
Why don't you all?
Our city council. Well, one of the councilmen said that the Stay in Clay group should buy it. And I don't feel like they should buy nothing. They're doing the legwork, that's a thing that the government should be doing.
Yeah.
Uh,
You all need like stickers, like stained,
We do.
like, do
We
you
have
have them
stained.
already? Okay, good. I've seen them on like on doors, and Greene County just did this initiative. The only reason I know it is because I helped them with write a grant. They're doing an initiative, it's called the Merchant Mile, and it's because their downtown is a mile kind of walking around, and they all have stickers, Merchant Mile stickers, and incentives, first Saturdays of the month, and all that stuff. Sounds like you all have got some great ideas
We
with
have
that.
Southeastern
We've been
Sundays.
to Greensboro.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
down
have
the
you?
tour
Okay.
at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
But me and, let's see, it's 4 or 5 of us.
And so they
Same
did like a
playground.
little walking trail around that, T-shirts and some other
You
things.
need
so.
to let Gail tell you about what the festival is coming up, and
Yeah,
then
we
they
have-
can expand on
yeah.
the Southeastern Sundays.
We have a Saltworks Arts and Crafts Festival coming up for the first time
Wow.
ever, and in the Memorial Day weekend. And I'm getting so many applications, so many people are calling me, because the requirement is you have to make it yourself. It can't be something
Oh, that's good.
from Oriental Trading.
Right.
It has to be homemade. And I'm getting so many interesting phone calls, saying, can I do this? And I'm going, I actually call Margie and say, can they do this, Margie? And Margie will say, sounds good to me, let's do it. But they're really, yeah. Well, and then also next weekend, we've got our second folk life theater production, Monkey Dumplings, coming up. And actually, I don't think I even told some of the members, but the high school and the middle school is giving extra credit to some of their history/sociology classes to come to our dress rehearsal for free, because our storyline is about something that happened in Clay County in 1961. Some gas tanks blew up, and literally people thought all of East Manchester was gone. I mean, it was a big deal. And so that's what our whole storyline, and talking about talent, I mean, we have got some of the best. I mean, it blows me away when I put the word out that we need musicians for this folk life theater. I got one of the best banjo pickers I've ever heard in my life. I've got guitar pickers. I've got some of the best singers coming, and every time they show up at the practice, I think, they really came. They came. So we're looking forward to the Monkey Dumplings next weekend, so it's going to be good.
And then that's on the 24th, and the 25th starts
The
the
festival's the
Southeastern,
24th,
the
and then the...
Southeastern Sundays.
And they don't like negative talking. If
No.
you're gonna talk negative, don't
might
show
as well
up
go
to your
out
meeting.
Don't show up at our
That's
meetings.
stopped. A lot of that
Yeah.
because of this initiative has stopped.
Yeah.
And that's where progress starts to begin. is, when you don't harp on the bad stuff and work focus on the good.
There's some people so negative. I've got one person that comes to city council, don't even live in the city. She comes every time, and then she gets on Facebook and writes stuff that she don't even know what she's talking about.
Oh, there's always those.
Yeah, yeah.
But this one comes every time.
We've heard about her coming
She
in
don't
Georgia.
She don't even live in the city.
Needs a hobby. Well, I just can't thank you all enough. This has been a wonderful, wonderful representation of your county. And one of the things that we want to let you know, kind of the next steps moving forward, we're going to work on a regional plan. So we're going to look at what each county said and if there are trends, so that we can put together a regional plan. Because as you know, that's where everything's going, is regional plans. But then we're going to take a step back after the regional rough draft is written, and we're going to work with individual counties. And not necessarily do a lot more talking, we're going to do a lot more writing of how we're going to get this done and what you all in the county want to focus on. And so there's going to be action steps that follow. So the regional plan, the rough draft, I think is due in early summer. So we're probably looking at early fall as a kind of an action steps for Clay County, and how we can help you all look for those opportunities, those financial opportunities that are out there, and how we can bring people together. So we're really done a lot of talking. You all have done a lot of talking, with your town halls, and we're kind of past that point right now.
We're
ready
hoping
to
it
move
would put a
on.
leg up, that
Yeah.
we'd be a step ahead.
Oh, you
maybe.
are. You're way
That's right.
ahead.
There's just one thing I want to say, and I know that everything requires a process and it does take time, but the sooner the community can see just one success
Yes.
out of this, the more people will buy in and support it. If it takes too long for that one
thing
success to come about, people become jaded.
And it really doesn't matter how small it is. It's
No,
just,
as long as it's a
but
success.
as long as
And
it's
it's
a
a
project
success
that's
that
completed.
we, the community, is in favor of.
Exactly.
Sounds good. So I will send you kind of our the feedback,
Did you give her the
and I will send you all the feedback, and then kind of the timeline, so that we can kind of announce that to the community. Like, this is what is coming next, and this is what you should expect. And we want more of you at the table next time when we're talking about how we're going to move forward. And I think if we can keep those lines of communication open and just continually kind of share, this is what's happening now, then we can keep people engaged. Because I agree, a lot of times something happens and you don't see somebody for another year, and everybody's lost interest at that point. So, but we will definitely keep engaged. And you all already seem like a very engaged community as far as your communications involved with Facebook and with internet services and web pages and other things. So you already have a leg up there as well. So thank you all so much for your time this morning. I look forward to coming back and seeing you all again. This was a wonderful session. So thank you for putting this together in such short notice.
Well, I will tell, I've talked to many of this group, but we are getting ready I'm getting ready to open a business very soon, take possession